evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the Political Deep Dive tonight. I'm Dave Valente. So tonight we're going to be talking about the future of work. We're going to be talking about the island territory of Guam and the firestorm in Hawaii. So we'll be spending a little bit of time in the Pacific this evening as well. But let me bring on my co-host. There we go. Got that fixed. Dave the Man Fishman.
What's shaking, man?
Not much, man. How you doing?
I am doing pretty well. Let me switch over to headphones.
Your mic's light too.
There
you go. Yeah, you weren't looking at the mic. That's why.
It's funny how that directional mic works. I do love, the fact that you can have a mic and it has a range of like 8 inches.
Yeah,
and that's it. Because I have an air conditioner going in the background.
It's always good to have a good 8 inches.
It is, right? I mean, yes.
Especially on camera.
Well, there's a whole, right, exactly. There's a whole bunch of jokes. Why isn't your hand 12 inches long? Because then it would be a foot. Other things like that. But yes, I like that there's a range of like surrounding just the area of a good microphone. And for people out there who want to become professionals like me and Dave, and actually, to be fair, we actually both are professionals. We have been on real radio shows.
This is true, yes.
Yeah, so, it is important to, the value of getting a good microphone is really worth it. If you want to have a podcast and you want people to listen, invest the like $80 to $90 to get a good microphone with a boom so that you can move it around and stuff like that and do all the good things with it. Yes,
he did. Off.
Dave broke his. Show's over.
Good night, everybody.
Yep.
Let me get that.
I do.
Let me get in the hole. There we go. Got it in the hole.
Yeah, that's what that 8 inches is for.
That's right.
I do love the fact that you have the map in the background.
Yes.
And you're going to have to go over there at some point and point out where Guam is.
Let me move. Because it's not really on the map there. Because it's, a tiny island.
I mean, it is.
It's on. It
just means that you have a great. You take your finger and point. Yep, that's Guam right there. Perfect.
Kind of in this area, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, a little
south. 3 hours from.
There you go. Yep.
All
right. Well, what's our order? Are we going to do Guam first? We're going to do news first.
Actually, I wanted to talk to you. We really didn't talk about this heading into the week as part of the show notes, but most of our audience is familiar with with inside baseball when it comes to the Libertarian Party.
Yeah.
Wanted to get your thoughts on the first off, the chair of the LNC paying her boyfriend to be a fundraiser. And then the immediate aftermath of the kerfuffle of LNC Region 1 Rep Miguel Duque putting in basically a request for a no confidence vote in the LNC, which is not binding, but it's an interesting vote.
It's an interesting move. And I do, first of all, I think that we should refer to him as El Duque from now on.
El Duque, yes.
So in terms of hiring your partner, that is just the clearest of all ethics violations. It is enriching your family, which is you, with the money collected from the members. It is the gravest breach short of actually stealing the money. Now, it is taking the money. Whether or not it's stealing is unclear. Now, there are situations in which you might potentially say, so I'll point out that when I was executive director, when Lauren left in July of 2019, membership was under $14,000. It was unclear whether or not we were going to make payroll. Just prior to me arriving, they had, I don't want to say missed payroll, but they hadn't been able to pay everybody in the first week of the month. So the party was in dire financial straits at that point in time. When I got there, they had settled things down a bit, but membership had still been steadily declining. And so when Lauren left, with good reason, I said, okay, we need money. We need money desperately. And in talking it over with Nick, He's like, I have people who will give me a personal one-time donation. But if I ask for it now for the LP, then they won't give it for my personal campaigns at some point in the future, something like that. He's like, I'm willing to do that for the LP, but I want to be compensated for it. And I'm like, it seems to me fair that we could do that on a commission basis. He's like, if it's commission basis, I'm going to end up, be ripping off the party because, I said just pay me this much to do it.
Mhm.
I think we talked about $75 an hour for 5 hours a week. Um, so, in the end, it wouldn't have been an enormous amount of money, but it would have been over $1,000 for a month's worth of work to bring in about, my estimate, about $60,000 in donation, which would have seen us through till the future months. And, July was when I really took over. I assumed the office April 15th. However, I was really learning my way around.
Yeah.
And by July, I had figured out what my plan was, how membership is the only path to sustainable financial functionality for the Libertarian Party, in my opinion. I think that I proved that that is true, but I didn't prove that it's the only path because who knows? We might be able to do it somewhere else with large donors, but certainly we proved that it can be done with membership. And so from August on, we never had a month in which I was executive director in which membership numbers declined. And in fact, when I left in January of 2021, it was the highest membership numbers that we'd ever had in the modern era. And I'm excluding the 2000 Project Archimedes thing. But we did that all with money. I had proposed to bring Nick in, but we put it in front of the LNC because we agreed that it was an ethical question. Is it okay for the chair to be reimbursed for doing work? And in this question, at this point in time, it was a question of him taking money that he ended up not being able to get for his future campaigns because there are people who are willing to give him a one-time donation.
Yeah.
The Chuck, Dr. Moulton, you're absolutely right. Converting people to monthly pledgers is the right way to do it, and we put a lot of effort into that when I was executive director. Not only Jess Mears, but I hired Michelle McCutchinson specifically to work on what we called stewardship, which is maintaining the members, identifying all the members who were there, and you may recall I put out an executive director report talking about the fact that we average retention rate on first year members was 42%, but on second year members was 85%. And so if we could get people over that hurdle to stay on there past the first year, we were very likely to retain them. And so we put a lot of effort into talking to people about that. And interestingly enough, I also proposed changing some things on the web page, saying one of the things I wanted to do was get rid of the $25 a month donation off of the web page. The lowest level donation is $25, and that's specified in the bylaws.
Yeah.
But we could have said, if you want to send us a check for $25, please do so. Here's the address. On the other hand, if you want to come in as a monthly member, we either have a $50 yearly or a $5 a month pledge. And that would have gotten more people to be pledgers. But of course, at that point in time, the LNC, there were the seeds who were wanted to make sure that we didn't succeed at all. And if you look at the people that the early outlying Mises people went after, it was the ones who were responsible for the financial success of the party, namely me and Tara DeSisto.
Yep.
So, that is what it is. To circle it all back around, clearly what has happened with appointing your own family member to a paid position it's atrocious. It is literally the worst ethics violation that can happen, short of stealing money. And so I hope that this vote for no confidence comes in there. And what I really hope is that other LNC members say that, okay? Because there is there's a phrase that's going around now. You see the hashtag in social media, hashtag yes all Mises. And the argument is that at this point in time, if you are currently supporting the existing administration, fuck it. you are not in a position to ever come back to the party because you've seen everything and you've made the commitment to support these really bad people doing bad things. And so it's inexcusable. Uh, our friend Parnell posted a question talking, I can't remember who it's about, but some racist who,
Oh, yeah, Harina or something like that.
yeah, who claims now to be reformed. My comment about that is that, while I do believe in personal redemption, and I think that people uh, can realize the error of the ways, you can't change the fact that at some point in time, somebody, Chuck, just to let you know,
It's
the
Austin Paget, who is the
baby
boyfriend
daddy,
and baby daddy of
the chair,
Angela McArdle, the chair of
right,
the Libertarian Party. So,
right,
in essence, it is a backdoor payment to the chair.
yeah, the
Do you
the
think you
chair
would?
is proposing to pay her family uh, $70,000 a year to oversee fundraising for the Libertarian Party, which hasn't been fundraising very well.
And here's the thing with the question that I have here is that if the guy had a professional fundraising background, I'd still question it because of the relationship. The guy has a background in sales
Yeah,
for ag industry sales. Nothing there screams politically connected, screams fundraising expertise, or anything that would warrant a professional gig with a professional political party.
right. Or similarly, why not throw it open to everybody and say, you know what? We are having commission based fundraising. You want to sign up to be a fundraiser for us? We will pay you, 20% of any money that you can raise for the Libertarian Party. And then if he were to earn some of it that way, that probably wouldn't even be objectionable in my book.
No,
Uh, we sort of did that with the affiliate program. I know there are a lot of people who think that the affiliate program was tainted because Tom Woods brought in a lot of members that way, but the Libertarian Party got a lot of money that way,
yeah,
and so in that respect, it's successful. But to circle back around to what I was saying about whether or not somebody can be a reformed racist, so I believe that you can see the light, see the error of your ways, but you will always be a person who thought, you know what? Racism makes sense to me. And I'm always going to know that you're the person who can make that logical conclusion in their brain.
hmm
And, maybe this is where my sort of, ADHD and my perseverance uh, comes to the thing. But if you were a point in time where you looked at all the details and you really believed in racism, I don't know how you get over that. I don't know how you get over that flawed level of thinking. Maybe if you're not possessing all the facts, when I was a kid, really up until I was probably like 24, I was in favor of the death penalty.
yeah, me too.
It made sense to me. And it wasn't until I realized that police officers and district attorneys, and indeed the entire justice system, collude to get convictions and kill people. And then I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. If I know that they are lying to kill people, if I know that they're lying just to get convictions, and we have a rule in our country, 3 strikes and you're out, which, I mean, what country bases the legal system on baseball? It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
But um, especially with the designated hitter rule. No, I'm just kidding. But there is this idea, and I want to come to your point in a second, Dr. Moulton. Um, but we know that the justice system is broken. Okay, we know that there are false convictions. We know that cops have planted evidence in the past. District attorneys have extracted confessions, all of those things. And so, given all of that scenario, that situation, why would you possibly support the death penalty? Now, I will say that if I had a flawless world, right? If I had a magic wand and I could say, this person committed this particularly heinous crime, I might be in favor of the death penalty again in some scenarios. And I'll give you the one case that was tempting to me. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, the Boston Marathon bomber. There is a scene. It's recorded. They don't show the video of it anymore, but of him putting his backpack, which had the bomb in it, next to little 6-year-old Richard Martin, who was killed. And people probably saw the picture that was posted afterwards of him holding up a sign saying, "Stop hurting people." And that was his plea to the world when he was in kindergarten. And Dzhokhar Tsarnaev deliberately killed everybody within the radius of his bomb. I mean, as it turns out, one of the Boston miracles, and we've talked about this beforehand, is that there were 187 people wounded, and everybody who made it to a hospital survived. It's an unbelievable feat. But little Richard Martin did not make it to the hospital. He was sitting on the ground right next to where the bomb exploded. To some extent, his body actually shielded some of the shrapnel and stopped it from killing other people. So even in his last act alive, he was helping people. Mm-hmm. But I think about that, and there's no question Tsarnaev did that. He is on video putting that bomb right next to that kid. And I still can't support the death penalty overall because it's just too easy for so many things to have gone wrong.
Yeah.
But if it were just up to me and I were looking at it, I would say just this case, maybe. I can't say that I don't ever think that there are people who deserve death for the crimes they've committed. I think the state is incapable of administering that punishment fairly and accurately.
It is the least morally able to do it.
Yeah.
I would say that.
And that's where we are. So then just to come back around to it, I mean, this is the time for the members of the Libertarian of the LNC to fish or cut bait. If people don't go along with this vote of no confidence here, that's it. That's who they are for forever. Yeah. Now, Dave, I have heard, speaking of El Duque, I had heard that you are going to the meeting next weekend in D.C. with a El Duque for chair T-shirt, and that you're going to speak during the open comment period.
Oh, God. I mean, I didn't like going to the meetings when I was on the board.
Right.
There are people there that if I never see again, it'll be way too soon.
Yeah.
I mean,
right. Exactly. Well,
that's
so right.
The only thing.
I feel you on that because I was at Freedom Fest, and I saw I can't remember the good nickname that we have for her, but
Pinky McBatshit.
Yes, that's not the good nickname though. There's another one, something Karen. I can't remember what it was. Maybe I'm thinking of the Karen Moms for Liberty nickname, Ku Klux Karen or whatever the hell they call it. Whatever it is that
Karen's.
Dave Eckhart raises an interesting point. I do want to circle back to Dr. Moulton's point that I said about if you're going to have fundraisers who we don't necessarily control, that's a risk, but I think it's a risk that you have to be willing to accept. And that's part of what the liberty is. There may be a scenario in the past where we say, where somebody does something in an unethical manner to raise money and uses the name of the Libertarian Party. And they'll say, did you guys endorse him? They're like, no, we didn't endorse. We don't endorse any fundraisers except for our director of development, our parade fundraising team. They're like, but we do have a standing thing where if somebody brings in a member to the Libertarian Party, those people are going to know what we're about. And we pay a commission based on that. And, nobody asks Amazon. Amazon has one of the most successful affiliate programs on the web. Nobody says, oh, Amazon, you got all your customers from Stormfront, right? The neo-Nazi site. And they say, look, 90% of your sales of white sheets came in from affiliates.
But I would say that if Amazon was made aware that this particular fund or affiliate was driving the Stormfront people, that they probably would lose their affiliate status.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that somebody could report something along the way,
And
and
I think
they probably would do something.
the concern that I would have, because we just saw it happen last in 2022 in Reno, is you get somebody that's inviting a bunch of people into take over and fundamentally alter the makeup of the party. That's
so. But when you say that, the argument that you're making is you are actually making the same argument that the people against Citizens United made, as they said, you shouldn't let other people have free speech. Whereas the ACLU, who we criticize in a lot of different places, the ACLU had in my opinion, brilliant take on Citizens United, where they said, look, restricting speech is restricting speech, and it's always a bad idea. Said, so what we should do instead is figure out a way to amplify other people's free speech. Now, we did this with the Libertarian Party when we had the affiliate program. And the fact of the matter is that the people that I thought, and I'll own my piece of this, right? I came up with the affiliate program because I wanted to increase membership.
sure, yeah.
But I thought that the good people would be much more effective at bringing in members, but many of them didn't lift a finger. And in fact, while I was there on the LNC, while I was executive director, the LNC member who, with his personal affiliation code, brought in the most new members was Joshua Smith.
Yeah.
And he brought in 10 times as many new members as the next person. The next person was Valerie Sarwark. But, what happened? How is it that all the other members of the LNC, and I'm not pointing my finger at you, Dave. Now I am. But how did the rest of the LNC, how were they not able to recruit new members in the party? How did all the good people out there in the party? We had a friggin' affiliate program. We had a holiday program where we said, you know what? Give a gift of a membership in somebody else's name. So make a $25 donation and we'll give them a membership for free. And that's your holiday gift to them, stuff like that. We couldn't get anybody to do that.
Yeah.
There was a lot of apathy going around. And you know what? Life belongs to the people who showed up. And so the people who take over the party, they did show up. Can people be unapathetic enough? Well, wait. Is the opposite of apathetic pathetic? Because
pathetic enough.
Yeah. It's I'm going to say we need to know who that Facebook user is.
Yeah.
It's not Chuck Moulton, but Dr. Moulton, would you agree that they increased membership from 186 to 1,700? Because Dr. Moulton would know. I think that Pennsylvania did have a thing where they allowed out-of-state members, and so I would be interested to know how much they increased membership in Pennsylvania among residents of Pennsylvania, because I do know that both sides put in an enormous effort to hire members. For example, I might be a dues-paying member of the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania. Yeah, unapathetic. Excuse me. I mean, because the opposite of moral is amoral, and so it's the opposite of pathetic, apathetic. That's a funny word.
It works.
It's not, but yeah, just Facebook user. Tell us who you are. You just posted
plausible
something.
deniability.
Yeah, exactly. Michael Heiss, come on. Right. Yeah,
no, I'm assuming it's either
that.
like Steve Sheets or Kevin Gahn or
Steve Sheets.
Steve
All right.
Steve
Well, wait. I'm gonna want a little more proof there. Steve, tell us your lemonade recipe. Okay, but to that end, I want to circle, and I think we spent enough time on this.
Yeah.
What the current LNC is doing is unbelievably wrong. And anybody who is willing to stick by that is, you've done it. You have crossed the Rubicon in terms of any moral compass. Hey, Aaron, one of our favorite guests too.
Yeah.
Uh, the we've been having some issues with some Facebook
Yeah.
users.
Facebook, for some reason, but all of my Facebook channels are just pushing people out as Facebook user, which is
Yeah,
annoying. Sorry.
very strange.
Um, hop
We'll
over to
work on it.
YouTube, and that's showing up, or to our Twitch
Well,
channel.
although
All those other
you have to have it be
places.
signed in as a YouTube user.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Um, but right, and James is on Twitch, which obviously
James
works.
is twitching.
Yes. All right. So I've answered my question. I gather you feel the same as I do.
Yeah.
Uh, if anybody is going to the DC meeting, let me know. There is a social gathering happening Saturday night
Oh,
that none of the LNC are invited to, but you guys are all invited to.
nice.
Because if you're listening to this show, we're cool.
Awesome. All right. So the topic this week is the future of work, and I know we've kind of gone around a lot of these topics that we're going to discuss about.
Yep.
What does the future of work look like within, uh, and we're going to, at the very end, we're going to do a very existential question, which I think will have everyone thinking. But what do you think the future of the work looks like in 10 years?
So let's talk first about what is work. You know, there's this great stretch in Two Treatises of Government
Mhm.
where John Locke talks about finding a potato out in the field, and if a guy's you're walking through a field and you find a potato, or through the forest, you find a potato, and you pick it and you take it home and you eat it. It's clear that the potato is yours. So, at what point in time did it become your potato? It's when you put the labor into it, the work to pick it, to manufacture something. So, labor is a thing that you do that produces uh, things of value. So, we've talked before about wealth, value, and currency. Okay. Wealth is only two things ever, it is your personal health and your time. And the intersection of those things is your liberty, your ability to do things. Value is the intersection of your labor with your wealth. When you make things, create things, and that can include trading for things or what else, using your wealth, you get things of value. And so, in this case, uh, when John Locke's walking through the field, he's using his existence, his life, his wealth, and he intersects it with his labor, picking the potato to create a thing of value, which is the potato that he's going to eat. So when we talk about what is the future of work, we're talking about what is our ability to create things of value and how valuable are they? It's an interesting question because we live in a world where a lot of things that used to be incredibly valuable aren't particularly valuable anymore because of our capacity to make things. Um, I know a lot of people don't like Rush Limbaugh, but one of the things that he used to talk about, and this is, in the 2000s, he said, people who are living in poverty in the United States have a standard of living that is better than kings and queens from just 150 years ago, right? Hot water, electricity, food, because, look, there's a lot of food insecurity in the United States.
Yeah.
People who know me or have listened to the show know that my biggest issue is hunger. It's ridiculous that we should have a hunger problem in the United States, but it's not because we don't have enough food. It's a distribution issue, and it's a people issue. It's not a food issue. So we don't need the amount of work that humans have to put forward to survive is greatly diminished, right? As opposed to, the fascinating thing about it. So I know a lot of people, we get a lot of, Dave and I get a lot of fan mail during the week, a lot of thirsty women who just talk about our svelte bodies.
Yeah, James, stop sending us panties.
But one of the fascinating things about that is that why are we like that, right, Dave? Why are you and I fat? We are genetically programmed as species to be animals that consume 10,000 calories a day because that's what our ancestors had to do to survive. Now, I think about how much would I have to work to burn 10,000 calories in a day? And I'm like, that is a shitty life, right?
Yeah.
If you have to run that much and chase things and stuff like that, boy, that
I need
would just
a nap just thinking about it.
What?
I need a nap just thinking about it.
Exactly. So clearly our life is a lot better, right? None of us need to expend 10,000 calories a day. And in fact, we expend 2,000 calories really just by mostly sitting around and doing nothing. If you're a man, women, I'm sorry, it's just not fair. But, uh, but that's work, right? It's another way that we can quantify work. And in fact, if you're doing a physics equation, right, work is specifically the expenditure of energy. I believe Dr. Moulton also has a physics background, and so we might hit him up on some of this later on. So what is the future of work? What is the future of how much energy we have to expand to live? That's clearly going to continue to diminish, right? The purpose of our modern scientific revolution is to make it so that machines will stand up and take the burden of work from our shoulders. And what's interesting is that we are in the spot and most of the physical work that's required. There aren't a lot of people who have to do hard physical labor anymore. There are some people who do it because they like it, but there are very few people, certainly in the Western world, who have to do hard physical labor. And that's because machines are available for that. And if you're a person who's ever used a modern machine, I'll give you a great example of that. I had a whole bunch of trees blown down, a bunch of storm damage, and I had to cut them with a chainsaw. And I have one thing that's left that is too large for me to cut with my chainsaw. It's too big. And I actually thought to myself, you know what? I'm just going to cut it with an axe because that's what people used to do back in the day. There's no such thing as a branch or a tree that's too big to cut down with an axe. But after 2 days of putting all that work into it with an axe, I'm like, well, this is stupid. I'm going to figure out a way to do it with with the chainsaw. Aaron, don't feel like I'm talking out of turn. Aaron is a truck driver. Okay, what used to be, require an enormous amount of effort to move thousands and thousands of pounds from one point to another. Now a truck does what used to take, first hundreds of people and then teams of horses. And now it's really one person. And usually, depending on where you're going, the loading and unloading of the truck may be done by machine. Certainly can be done with a forklift. Janice, I appreciate your concern. I am exceptionally careful. I think about the fact that I'm not a person who should be using a chainsaw, and that's a little bit of a bias there. But I grew up super nerd, but there's no such thing as things that we can't do, things that we can't learn to do. You just have to take safety into precaution into thoughts, and so I am overly cautious when I use my chainsaw. As an example, I never cut like this. because you don't want to cut in a way that if the chain came off, it would hit you, or if the blade jumped up, it would hit you in the face. And in fact, the bar that is in front of the chainsaw, people ever use chainsaw, you grab it here and there's a bar there. It's there specifically so that if it jumps up, it'll your hand will push it back, and that sets off the brake in the chainsaw. But I don't even want to risk that. So I always cut like this, so that if the saw comes this way, my head is not in the path, and if the blade comes off this way, my legs are not in the path. You learn that in chainsaw safety school. So
Dan is a lumberjack, and he's okay.
I am okay. I work all night, drink all day.
There you go.
So, yeah, I think I lost my thread. The future of work. But so here's the problem, though. In an American style capitalism society, we expect people to define their worth based on the value of goods that they can produce. We talked about that value is the intersection of your labor and your wealth. So, what happens if the value of your labor is now less than that of a machine? In case in point, I don't care how good you are at tilling fields, it's not worth it for me to pay you to do that. I don't care how good you are at personally carrying goods from point A to point B. It's not worth it for me to pay you to do that, because I can hire a man in a tractor, or I can hire a man in a truck who can do that much more efficiently. So your labor in that respect has no value.
Yeah.
One of the things that we do, and I'll let you make this argument, Dave, because I know you're first in it, why we think minimum wage is a bad idea in terms of what happens if the value of your labor is less than the minimum wage.
You get priced out of the market. I mean, that's the thing with minimum wage, is that you do get priced out of the market if you are an unskilled worker, whether you're an adult or a child that's just getting into the marketplace, the work marketplace. And when I say child, I'm talking about like 15, 16 years old. So a teenager getting into the workplace. If the price of that is prices in a machine, as we're seeing in McDonald's now, it's far easier to just put the machine in. The machine's not going to call out. The machine may break down every once in a while. I mean, look at their damn ice cream machines. But the cashier machine doesn't break down all that often, and certainly less than people calling out of work.
And the cashier machine never makes a mistake in terms of how much money's in the register. The cashier machine never gets angry because a customer yells at them because it's 11:30 and they're not serving breakfast anymore. The machine is just the machine. Burger King is the same way.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I love using the app to order online now.
Before going
because
in there, it just saves you time.
Saves me time, but there's also a much higher degree of accuracy.
Yeah.
I get the things that I want, and if I don't, I am I have only myself to blame. I always look back on the receipt and say, "Oh, I forgot to get cheese on that." And so as those things come along, and Aaron, I agree with you that sometimes self-service kiosks can be out of order. I haven't had that same experience seeing a lot of them out of order. However, I certainly have seen times where they're all out of order in a shop at once because either the internet is down or something like that. That's sort of the nature of thing. But honestly, if the power's out, you can't cook. We're all dependent on some level of serviceness. And right now, power is a lot more reliable than internet. But that's where most of that stuff is. And now, if internet's out, I bet you most cash registers can't function.
Well, I mean, they'll be able to function, but you've gone from, being able to use debit cards and credit cards and things like that. You won't be able to use those, so it's got to be cash. And most people are not carrying cash anymore. So mean, it makes it very hard
Right.
to be able to get to buy
Right.
your happy meal.
So now here's the interesting thing about it, though, is that I don't believe that there's anybody whose work has zero value. Okay. I think that what you do might not be very valuable, but honestly, if the work that I'm doing is cutting grass, uh, it has some value. It may be that there's a machine that can do it better than me, but there's something that I can do that has some value.
Yeah,
The problem is that if the value is so low that it's not worth it for somebody to employ me to do that, I won't be employed.
you
However,
can't eat and all that stuff. Yeah,
right. However, the interesting thing about it is that if we get to the stage of, let's just say, one of the most exciting things that I think is coming down the pike is AI and robotics in agriculture. The fact that we are going to, excuse me, be able to use machines to kill. They did create a Dan machine. That
yeah.
guy's a dick.
Dan's
Yeah.
a machine. So
Yeah. Unfortunately, that guy, the Dan machine, is out there having a good time partying it up. And I got stuck with this shitty job.
yeah, I know. Jeez,
Um, but the, so the agricultural revolution that's coming, the AI revolution in agriculture, it's an AI/robotics revolution. And I think that we should talk about those two things together, even though we don't. Like a lot of time people talk about AI, but they don't talk about AI and robotics. But that's what's going to happen. If you've seen where robotics is right now, uh, that could be a little frightening too, right? They have those security guard robots that,
oh yeah,
uh,
scary dog looking things. Yeah.
no, not the scary dog looking things, the ones that look like Daleks. And
Oh yeah, yeah.
if you're in the wrong area, they shoot you. They shoot anything that's moving in this area. Okay, that's a little scary. And you think about the fact that,
Skynet.
exactly, right, that, somebody might give it an assignment and say, you know what? We can pair this with AI and say, okay, now you don't have to do your area, expand the whole area, but just don't shoot the people and use AI to not shoot the good people.
Yeah,
You can see how that can go wrong pretty quickly. But you can also
exactly.
see how some idiot would give that order. So,
But let's talk about AI and robotics. I mean, a lot of the physical labor jobs can be done.
yeah,
I mean, they're building houses with 3D printing now, um, large scale concrete laying, 3D
yep,
printing houses. It feels like at some point we're going to start out kicking our coverage where we are gonna have AI not only take the skilled or the unskilled labor positions, but also the skilled labor positions. And you know, yes, you can go back to school and learn how to be how to be a lawyer, learn how to do uh, any number computer programming, things like that. But we're also getting to a point where AI is going to do that, and that you're not going to need you'll need
yeah,
people on the audit end to verify the work, but you don't need as many people to verify work on the
yep.
back end.
No, I mean it's I think a movie that people reference a lot in terms of sort of like a guide for life, a guide for the future. Caddyshack.
Of
And
course,
there's a
yeah.
scene in there where
Or get hit by lightning.
no, where Danny is caddying, and he's talking to Judge Smales, and he's like, "Well, I was hoping to go to law school, but it doesn't look like I'll be able to afford it now." And he says, "Well, the world needs ditch diggers too, but the world doesn't need ditch diggers anymore. Yeah,
No,
there are very few ditches that get dug by a human being. And having recently dug a ditch to divert some water on my property, dude, that was a fucking stupid thing to do. I don't know why I didn't rent a backhoe and save my back. Um, it's a great question. But so now here's the flip side of this: is that in this scenario where machines are stepping up and taking this burden of work from us, what is the value of a machine's labor? Zero, right?
Yeah.
Because the machine doesn't need to consume anything. It
And that's the
doesn't
one.
need to get paid.
Well, that's the one thing that I heard as people are moved out of the workplace, um, and machines take over more and more jobs, that the tax burden no longer is on the people but on the machines. That you tax the machines per corporation based off the labor and the money that they generate.
Well, so that is a very interesting thing. Oh, actually, you know what? This leads into a fascinating topic of conversation. So I didn't post this yet, but I was listening to Planet Money on
Mhm.
NPR, and they picked up on a story that was from another NPR show. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but if I say Charles Darrow, Charles Darrow, I throw that out to the audience. Anybody know who that is?
Oh man, that name sounds familiar.
It's not Clarence
Not
Darrow, the
Clarence Darrow. No,
attorney
no.
from
I've
Hamilton.
heard Charles Darrow before.
Charles Darrow is credited with having invented Monopoly.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
and it was a rag to riches story. He invented the game during the Great Depression, and Parker Brothers not only sold the game, but they sold the idea that this guy had invented this game. But as it turns out, the game was actually invented by a woman. And I'm going to look up her name and bring it up in a second. But she was a Georgist, which if somebody who follows the thinkings of uh, Henry George, or sometimes called a geolibertarian, people who believe that the earth cannot belong to anybody because you didn't make it. At no point in time did you apply value, did you apply labor to create the earth or the ocean or the air, any of that stuff. So a Georgist believes that all of those things belong equally to every person on the planet. They are private property owned by every living person. Now, that makes so if we circle back around to John Locke, right? That potato that John Locke picks up while walking through the forest, okay, that's a potato that belonged to everybody. So, what should happen when you take private property from somebody else? You should pay them for it. And so that's the argument for Georgism is that when you pick up something, are you reading James's comment?
Yes.
Yeah. Um, the so this Georgist idea that you know land you can rent land from people, but you can't own land because nobody made the land. You know what? Who has the right to sell you land? Nobody. Nobody made it. Is it the first people who got there?
But
I mean,
who rents the land? I mean,
well,
who
so
has the ability to rent the land out?
right. So that is the question,
The
and the
chicken and the egg
argument
type thing.
is that you where you rent the land. Thank you, Janice.
Maggie
Thank you
Phillips.
very
All
much.
right.
Exactly. It's called the landlord's game, and she patented it in 1904. She friggin' patented the game that is Monopoly, and Parker Brothers said, "Ah, fuck that. She can't fight us in court." And so they printed their game, um, and they still tell the story, and it's complete bullshit. First of all, it's patriarchy bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Because oh, how can a woman invent a game in 1900? Blah 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 blah. But all the other stuff. So who has the authority to rent land in Georgism? That is one of the sole legitimate purposes of the state. Is that you essentially you pay a property tax, and that is your rent for using the land. And the argument is that you using the land improving it, whatever, that's your, and you don't have to improve it, but essentially to have sole possession of the land, use it as you see fit, you have taken something from the general body who owns all land. Exactly. It is more of a land value tax than anything else.
Yeah.
And that's the premise of it. And then that money, because you are taking something from the general public, goes to fund the coffers of the general public. So whether it's to pay for welfare or whatever, that's the way that the state gets money. Taxing income is terrible, right? We tax
Yeah.
cigarettes to stop people from smoking, tax alcohol to stop people from drinking. Why are we taxing income? Because we know it stops people from working. But a property tax is an interesting tax because it's essentially, it's not even, it's a fee. It's a fee for using something that people, uh, that you make the argument belongs to everybody else.
Yeah.
And, there are actually examples of this. The number one example, of course, is Dave,
Uh,
Citizens Dividend in Alaska.
Yeah. Alaska's, yeah.
I'll let you
Oil.
explain to everybody how that works.
So all the oil that is extracted from Alaska and sold on the market produces a dividend. When oil prices go up, people in Alaska are very happy. They get a nice dividend at each year. And when oil prices are down, it's reduced, but it's based on the price of oil and how much Alaska makes off of the oil sales.
Right. And the argument is that every barrel of oil that is underground in Alaska belongs to the citizens of Alaska.
Yeah.
And an oil company can pump them out, take possession of it, essentially take the private property of the citizens of Alaska, but they have to pay Alaska $10 a barrel or $15 a barrel or whatever it is.
Based off the price, yeah. So
exactly.
Percentage of the price, but yeah. I do want to go back and address James. It's funny that we have really become employees of Walmart and all these other stores that have self checkouts. That even McDonald's, when you go in there and you check in and check out, you have very little human contact. Maybe the person hands you the food, but yeah, I mean, we really have become de facto employees, especially at Walmart. Like, I mean, you're actually competing with employees as they go and grab all the items off the shelf to fill the pickup orders. And then when you go to the checkout, it is all self checkouts, no matter how much stuff you got. And there may be a couple of lanes that are open that have humans there, but honestly, it's a lot of that you're just labor now for Walmart, and they'll make the argument that not employing checkout people at Walmart saves you money, so you're spending less money at the on items that they sell at Walmart. I get that. It's kind of frustrating though, because everybody here remembers the day where you just go to a store and they check it out, they bag it for you. Heck, even would take the groceries out to the car for you.
Well, all right. So let's talk about the fact that this is a transitional state.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Where we're really going with this is RFID. You just walk out the door with all your goods and your credit card gets billed.
Yep.
I don't think anybody's going to object about that part of it. Right. What if you could go into the store, get everything that you want, put it into the shopping cart, walk through the thing, and shopping cart says, this is $247. You say, okay, and walk out.
And some stores are experimenting with it. Like there's some stores where you go around, you carry a gun with you and you scan each item into the gun as you put them in there. And then when you're done, you check out and you head out the door.
Right.
And then there are places where they're talking about doing more RFID, that it goes into the cart and the RFID sensors are inside the cart, the basket.
So there's two working models. There's the RFID model that was used in Cambridge, Massachusetts, essentially at the Stop and Shop on the MIT campus. And And then Amazon came up with this of the store. I want to say it was called Amazon Fresh or something. But essentially, the way that works is that there are cameras everywhere,
Hmm.
and the cameras, when you pick something up and you put it into your cart, they know what it is, and they know what it is because of where it was, and you picked it up, and it releases a sensor and says, "This is this object, and this went into your cart." Um,
They know you got those condoms, you freak.
exactly, exactly. They know you bought the magnums, but you don't need them.
You don't need
Um,
magnums.
but uh, that's just a technology issue. We are getting to the point where it's going to be easier for everybody. And what we have now, I mean, for me, I'm a self checkout person, just like Dr. Moulton, where I would much prefer there be 50 self checkout counters.
And there are now
Uh,
Walmarts, like
and
all the ones around us.
yeah, I mean, for me, in my area, and I mean, I live in the boonies, uh, Southern Maryland. Magnums and rubber bands is exactly right, Dave. Um, I live in Southern Maryland, so like I think at my Food Lion, there is
Oh, Food
there are
Line
four.
doesn't have them. Although they got four for us.
Yeah, Food Lion has 4 self checkout things, and there may be 1 or 2 cashiers on duty. Usually one express and one regular. Now,
Yeah.
when we go to the grocery store, we buy 6 weeks of food at a time, so it's 2 giant full carts, and so I'd rather go through the self checkout lane because.
Oh no, I hate self checkout when I've got more than.
Oh, sorry, no, sorry. Yeah, I'd rather go to a human checkout
Yes.
lane because the bagging. I need
Yes.
somebody else to bag while I'm loading in the front end. Um, but in terms of a short thing when I can run into the store and I just grab 5 or 6 things, much happier with that.
Oh yeah.
And
No, that's what I usually do. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, but the interesting thing about it is that the market's going to determine that. Unfortunately, uh, if people want to patronize places where they have human beings doing checkout, those places will always exist, but it will be you will pay a premium for that.
Yeah.
You
At
will
some
pay a
point,
premium for
I think
human
you're.
service.
Yeah, I think you're going to start seeing like Walmart, because Walmart's been the most aggressive, really, at converting
Yep.
to uh, self checkout. Is that you're probably going to have to get. You're going to end up getting like a 10% premium added onto your bill for human checkout. That's where I see it going.
You froze up to me for a second, but here's the thing: is that what you can pay? So we talk about this in terms of roads too, and so I had an interesting conversation with a friend of mine. Those of you who follow Thread, my friend Warren. Hey Warren, I hope you're watching. Warren's a Marxist. He might describe himself as a socialist, but we have a lot of interesting conversations. And we were talking this week about economics and the fact that economics really doesn't have anything to do with money. It has to do with motivation and what motivates people to do things. What are the incentives at work? Just so happens that money is a really good incentive because it's fungible and you can use it for a lot of things.
I love that
Um,
term, fungible.
yeah, me too. But one of the things about it is that when we talk about traffic, okay, traffic is actually a thing that has cost. Traffic is the cost that you pay to be able to drive on the road to get from point A to point B. And there comes a point in time at which a lot of people are willing to pay a lot to be able to drive. That increases traffic. And so you have to pay more in terms of traffic costs. Traffic is worse because people are willing to pay more in their personal time to get to work. They don't want to. They wish they could pay a lot more and not have to deal with traffic. And there are some places where you can do that, right?
Yeah.
Where you can pay a lot more and you can have a chauffeur or something else. But one way or another, you pay for what's out there. And so when there comes a point in time at which the cost of self checkout becomes significantly cheaper than employing a human being, you'll have to pay more to employ human beings. What
Yeah.
James is saying, what Aaron is saying, want to pay extra $5. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
there's going
mean,
to be a market for it. Yeah.
yeah, there will be a market for it. Just don't complain. People shouldn't complain about it.
Although I will
That's what
say,
the free market is.
you're going to get that. You're probably going to get those options in a much more cosmopolitan area than, say,
Yeah. No, I mean it's a luxury. It's like you know, having your gas pumped for you.
yeah.
Okay. Right. There was a point in time. Right. And
Although,
that's a great point. Do we all say that we're fucking employees of Exxon because we have to pump our own gas now?
yeah,
When's the last time you didn't do your own checkout for gas?
no, I've never. I mean, I've never had somebody pump my gas for me.
Yeah. Actually, I would be interested to hear from Aaron whether or not professional truckers pump their own gas or whether or not the stations are,
See, I don't go to
automated
New
or
Jersey.
She was right, exactly right. New Jersey, well, but right. New Jersey has a law exactly
Yeah,
where
you have
right you
to.
can't
Somebody
have.
has. People are
Although,
not capable of pumping their own gas yet.
although somebody tell me if that's actually true for all of New Jersey or if it's just the turnpike stations.
I think it's all New Jersey.
I'm not sure.
I know
Fact
Oregon just had part of
fact
their
checkers, look
state.
it up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know Oregon just had part of their state uh, liberated to pump their own gas,
yeah.
and the headlines out of Oregon were rather amusing when that happened. Like people trying to figure out how to pump gas that have lived there all their lives. But
There's three great examples of this. One of the best ones is that the automated elevator uh, didn't was we understood how to do it in like 1890,
yeah,
mechanically, but people didn't trust it, and so for 60 years, well, really 50 years, there were still human
quarters.
operated
Yeah,
elevators, calling out the floors and stuff like that. And then the war happened, and there weren't enough men around, and who would trust a woman to drive a fucking elevator? um, the
you're gonna get in this trouble, man.
Yeah, exactly. But of course, I'm obviously joking about that. But that that scenario of then everybody started using, self-driving elevators, and everybody was like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that's it."
yeah,
And that's probably where we're going to go with self checkout. I mean, I think that there are scenarios where you want to deal with a person. On the other hand, I will tell you, uh, I have been fraudulently duped by people selling me things several times. In fact, most recently, I bought a car, and the salesman, we had agreed upon a price and all that stuff, blah 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 blah. And then at the very end, when I got home, I found out that he'd put $2,000 more on there that we'd agreed that he would take off, and yeah, it just sucked.
yeah,
A machine would never do that.
yeah. Exactly.
And a machine wouldn't be putting pressure on me to, oh, you better sign it quick. Fuck those guys.
Yeah, I mean that's where you're gonna see a lot of less of that is in the places where you have haggling right now, which
Right.
I get that mattress salespeople and car salespeople, get commission based off of their cost to margin and all that stuff. But once you buy that stuff online or buy that through, CarMax or whatever, Carvana, or if they're still in business,
Right.
you remove that haggling aspect of it.
Yep. But so to circle around and sort of put a period on this thing, what is the future of work? James and Aaron and a lot of other people have talked about what the future of work is. The future of work is going to be the things that you can't replace with a machine. And the one thing that you can't replace a machine is human interaction, being able to talk to somebody, storytellers, entertainers, uh, service people, right? I mean, if you ask me, would I prefer a massage from a human being or a machine? I would probably prefer. I mean, it's an interesting thing, right? You're going to talk about Futurama and Sexbot 2000.
No, no, there's a video out there of this guy that's got a mechanical arm,
Yeah.
and it's like a French broadcast or something, and wants a demonstration of it. And I think he'll hit the self pleasure mode because he hits this button, and all of a sudden his hand is going up like this on
Wow.
the table, and then like 2 seconds later they cut back to him, and he's got it like this. Absolutely hilarious.
That's pretty funny.
But
Yeah, that's what I think the future of work is. The future of work is the future of the work is the same that it's always been. Work is finding a way to provide services that people are willing to pay for.
Yeah, there you go. I did have the existential question. I think this might be good for another, and maybe a discussion more on religion and how it impacts our lives. And I'll give a preview to it in a future episode. Is that if religion is wrong, and when we die, that's it. That's the ball game. What would you do for work? What would you do? How would you spend your life?
I mean,
Does that alter the how you put your life in perspective?
No, not for me. Because I mean that's mostly what I believe.
Yeah.
I think that for a lot of people as you get older, it seems more and more nonsensical that this is all there is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great song by William Shatner where he sings about not Rocket Man, but on the Common People album, where he says, "Is this all there is? Why did I waste it? Why didn't I taste it?" And it's a great song.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. And if I can quote, if I'm going to quote Shatner, I'm going to quote another great musical group, the Butthole Surfers, who in their song Locust Abortion Technician said, "It is better to regret something you have done than to regret something you haven't." And I have tried hard to live my life that way. Most of the time, I really do try to do things to experience them.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, there are things that I'm like, and what's interesting about it is that, this circles around, and I don't want to get into this again. And I know that we made some people unhappy when we had the sports conversation, but
Sure.
watching the World Cup and seeing how incredibly excited these women are when they play well, and having been there myself, my freshman year, my college lacrosse team won the Southwest Conference, which, back in the day, that was a real athletic conference. That feeling of winning, and especially having been on a high school team that couldn't win shit, it's the best feeling in the world. It's the experience, right? Life is about living and having that experience. The experience of being a champion, striving to be a champion is so amazing. Living life to the fullest and all the things that you can do, all the joy that you can have in the world is worth pursuing.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't not seek pleasure because of some idea of an afterlife. Let's save this for another show.
Yeah, definitely say
but
that.
I definitely would do a good one on that. Let's you want to do Guam? You want to do quiz?
Let's hold off on Guam for the week, and we'll do the quiz because we're getting kind of close to. We got like 20 minutes.
We are. So, I talked a little too much.
No, well, that's why you're here. All right, are you ready for the quiz?
I'm ready.
Let's do the quiz.
Hope everybody else is ready for the quiz.
Context clues. There's Biden out at the Grand Canyon. Looks like Mega Millions turned into Mega Billion.
Yep. 1.54 million.
And
this I mean, it's
the
sad.
Cracker Whacker.
Yeah, it's Cracker Whacker. It's project in a small town. It's all that stuff. I just want to say, just shout out to James and Dave and
Yeah.
and Chuck. You guys, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate the comments.
Yeah, man. Driving it, driving it.
Yep.
All right, question number one. And feel free to pop it in the comments if you know it. Which tropical island faced deadly wildfires this week? Bali, Fiji, Maui, or Jamaica? And this one's easy. This is
Yeah,
Maui.
we all know it's Maui.
Uh,
Now,
Absolutely devastating. This is one of the
have you
news stories
been?
we want to talk. I've never been to Hawaii.
So we went to Hawaii on our honeymoon, uh, which was in 2001. In fact, it was October of 2001. So it was right after September 11th. We were among the very few people there. And it was like a ghost town. And so my experience in Hawaii is that it's kind of creepy. There's nobody there. It's beautiful though, and Maui was amazing. I mean, in many ways, and most people will say Maui is the most beautiful of all the islands. So
Yeah,
to have it be devastated like that, it's terrible.
it is.
But
And I mean, it's not just that. Yeah, where I think the death toll's up like 90, 100 people, but
yeah,
there's still like several hundred people missing. Like,
yeah, no, the death toll is going to go really high. There clearly was a failure in the warning system.
yes,
And the thing about it is that it's not a disaster that people were necessarily prepared for, because it wasn't just that it was a fire. There were 50, 60 mile an hour winds
yeah,
driving the fire really quickly.
yep,
And uh, there were some people, I've been watching a few interviews about this. There were some people who, like, they saw the fire off in the distance and they got in their cars, but everybody got in their cars. And
yep,
then there was traffic, and now they're stuck in their traffic. And there's some people who are like, I should get out and run. But if I abandon my car, I fuck everybody behind me. So now what do I do? And if you stayed in your car too long, unfortunately, you died.
yeah,
And so it's not it was a very difficult situation. And, you talk about bug out plans and things you want to do. Man, your bug out plan has to be a real bug out plan. It
exactly.
can't be something where you can get delayed by traffic or something else. And I say all the time to people, we were just, who was I talking about this with? Was it you guys? About our radios?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the key. Having a good bug out plan is about planning it. And everybody knew what you were supposed to do in your excuse me, when the disaster strikes. Everybody in your family knows where they're going to go, what they're supposed to do, but it's also only as good as the last time you practiced it. So, looking at the camera, everybody here, think about what your disaster plan is, who it involves, and talk to everybody about it. And you know what? Maybe have a day when you rehearse it.
yeah,
Uh, I've told this story before. I'm going to tell it very briefly, but when I was the head software guy at my division of Massachusetts General Hospital, we had a disaster plan. What would we do? And one day a year, my boss, who was the CIO, would come and get me and drive me somewhere. And we usually make an excuse to go someplace nice, like either to the casino or up to New Hampshire or something like that. But then he's like, okay, it's disaster day. Here's a laptop you've never seen before. You need to show me that you can bring up the website and retrieve all of our records and all of that stuff. And I did it. And we did that 3 years in a row. And then the fourth year, he said, guess what, guys? It's disaster day. I'm like, awesome. Where we're going? He's like, nowhere. You died in the fire. I'm taking George, who was my lieutenant. And as it turns out, there was a password that only I knew. And
ah,
so your disaster plan is only as good as when you test it. So please, everybody out there who's got a bug out plan, test your disaster plan in a real way. Find out how good it is.
yeah.
All right, next
And
question.
pay attention to the news. Don't.
Yeah,
News is boring. News is stupid. I get that, but pay attention to the news because there's a lot of news stories talking about, there's been warnings about the fire danger in Hawaii for a long time.
Yep.
This was a perfect storm of stuff. There was a hurricane that threw all the winds into this equation, but yeah.
Right.
All right, question number 2. Which team was dramatically knocked out of the Women's World Cup during a penalty shootout against Spadia?
And since we know this is Friday,
Yeah, last Thursday.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was the United States.
was, I mean, it was dramatic. It was dramatic because they could have won.
Yes,
Right.
they played. I mean, of the games that they had in that tournament,
Yeah. They played. They
that
played.
game
They
was
played.
the best.
Yeah. I mean, and I think the coach is right. They deserve to win based on the quality of their play. And considering the fact that Sweden has gone on, it's interesting. But, you can't. This was coming, and a lot of people saw it coming. And, you know, a lot of people made a lot of money betting on Sweden
Yeah. Well, I
because
mean,
they were heavy underdog. But so many people in the
watching.
United States saw that they were going to lose.
Yeah, I mean, watching the United States in the first 3 games of the World Cup. I mean, it was easy money to bet Sweden, but
Yep.
we'll say they stepped up. They played their best game. Whether they missed, oh God, what was her name? The one that got the red card or got the yellow card accumulation was knocked out. Rose Lavelle.
Yeah.
Whether they
Roosevelt.
missed her in midfield or not, it was their best game. They
Yeah,
should have won. They had some great chances, but
Yeah.
the fact that they could not score.
Right. They couldn't score. The Swedish keeper definitely played great.
Oh,
I think
God,
they had
yeah.
11 shots on goal. But, there's an argument that, and I can't remember if we had this conversation last time, but I guess not.
About the defense not giving up a shot?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So they couldn't put more effort into offense. And, finally, the U.S. had 2 penalty shots where if they'd made either one of them, they would have won. And neither of them, one went over. Megan Rapinoe put hers over. And then, the other woman, and I can't remember who her name is, and I'm sorry, but she hit the post and bounced out. But honestly,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
3 inches to the left and it hits the post and goes in.
Yep.
It really is.
Rapinoe hits the,
I
hits
mean,
it a little bit lower. It's
Rapinoe
slower.
roofed it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I will always think of her in the same way that I think of Wando missing that fucking shot that would have won the Belgian game in
I think
90, 94,
it was like
98, or
90
2004.
94.
Whatever it was.
I think of her like Roberto Baggio in Italy versus Brazil in the final, and he skied it with a chance to win it. So
Yeah. I will
but
tell you, having been a soccer player, and I played varsity soccer through high school, and I played fullback. I rarely took penalty shots. But one of the things I realized is that if you try for a corner, you're much more likely to miss, as opposed to, putting it 3 or 4 feet inside with enough power that you're going to beat the goalie. And so, it is what it is.
Yep. All right, question number 3. Which, under a new law passed this week, this is rather apropos, we were talking about this earlier. New law passed this week. Which state is now allowing drivers to pump their own gas?
We think
New
it's
Jersey,
Oregon, right?
Arizona, Oregon, or Pennsylvania?
We can let everybody guess.
Yeah, we'll let everybody
Even though
guess.
I said it. All right, first person to type it in wins. Craig, you win. You win the whole state of Oregon.
Winner, chicken dinner. Oh,
What's interesting about it,
Pennsylvania.
Aaron also says
Orgasm, yes.
Interestingly enough, Oregon also has a plethora of legal weed that they can't sell because they.
I would take it off their hands for them, but West Virginia.
Yep. They didn't regulate it.
Well, yep. So they're able to pump their own gas after they lifted a 1951 ban. Preserving jobs for service station attendants.
That would be an interesting thing thing for the Libertarian Policy Institute to take up. People who aren't familiar, LPI, Libertarian Policy Institute, libertarianpolicyinstitute.org, they specifically look for terrible laws and try to fight against them. So, for example, one of the things they're doing right now in Alabama is they're fighting against the grocery tax. What you think about it? Grocery tax is terrible, right? Specifically affects poor people more than anybody else. And it's something that you ought to be able to get rid of pretty easily. Who's not going to say, yeah, don't tax me on the food that I'm buying at the store? But there's so much old school government corruption tied up into in Alabama. They haven't had a lot of success, but I think LPI is going to win that battle in the long run. And so hopefully, maybe they can come next after this.
I don't know, man. There is no drug stronger on this planet than tax money to politicians. That is the strongest drug.
Yep, because it's not just about money, but it's about the power to take the money from you and then to grant you absolution.
Yeah.
To I can't remember what it is. I just rewatched Schindler's List, which is not a happy rewatch.
No.
But there's that scene where
oh yeah, absolve you or
exactly, where he convinces the Nazi to forgive people. And like right, but he gets into it because he likes the power of it, and that's a lot of what the tax code is. Is a lot of the tax code is that the politicians like the power of making loopholes to reward the people and say, "Look how powerful I am! I made a loophole for you."
Yep. All right, question number 4. Oddly enough, preparations are underway for a cage fight between Elon Musk and which other billionaire?
Warren Buffett.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Crack that tip up.
Let's see what the people have got.
We got Bezos, Zuckerberg, Larry Page, or Mark Cuban. The back and forth has been entertaining. Yes, Aaron gets it.
Yep. Aaron and James. Yeah, it is. It is indeed Mark Zuckerberg.
Yes, the Zuck, the superintendent of the Zuckerberg Intergalactic Penitentiary, of which many of us have served time.
It's interesting. I just watched one of my favorite influencers, a guy named Dr. Mike, and he's a celebrity boxer as well. In addition to being, he's in New Jersey, a doctor, and gives a lot of really good medical advice online. But boxing is one of those things that, in some ways, it's brutal and barbaric and all that stuff. But there is something about fighting and being in an arena and, going a couple rounds with somebody else, just trying to hit them, see how it goes.
I mean, I hope they both lose. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with that whole fight. I mean, it's not going to happen. In fact, Zuck said today that, we've given him a time and a place, and they won't give us a date. So until we hear something from them, we just consider it off. And, he knows where to find me. So, all right, question number 5. Which bank encountered a technical issue that made some customers' direct deposits disappear from their accounts? Interesting.
I have no idea on this one.
Yeah, I don't either.
We're trusting the audience. Based on the colors?
Yeah,
I was going to say, based on the colors, it looks like Wells Fargo, but...
Yeah, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase Bank, or PNC Bank. PNC may be an option as well because it's got that orange in there.
I think...
But
right,
I'm thinking Wells Fargo because of you can see the red and it looks like a little bit of gold in there.
Right. You think that it is, you're thinking the pink is the LNC Bank. And sorry, that's a bad joke.
No.
I have no idea on this. We're not getting,
right.
Janice says Wells Fargo.
And so did Aaron. Aaron said WF.
Yeah.
I say WTF.
Oh, that's right. WF means Wells Fargo, not what the fuck. Okay. I agree.
Wells Fargo.
All right.
Not only are they opening accounts for you, but they're making your deposits disappear.
Yep.
Question number 6. Video footage of a large brawl at a boat dock captivated the internet this week. Where did the fight occur? New Orleans, Charleston, Montgomery, or Baltimore? And it's the fun Charleston, not the West Virginia Charleston.
Right. As opposed, and not to be confused with Charlestown, which is in Massachusetts.
Oh, there's also a Charlestown in West Virginia. If not to confuse everything around here.
So you have both Charleston and Charlestown?
Yeah, Charlestown is where the casino's at here on the Eastern Panhandle.
Interesting. What kind of casino is it?
Hollywood Casino.
Is it nice? Have you been?
It's okay. They got a sports book there, so.
Yeah. I haven't been thrilled with the MGM, although I did crush them the last time I went. I won $800 at a $5 blackjack table.
Peace. All right.
Yeah, right. It's definitely Montgomery. Aaron's got it right.
Yeah.
It was a crazy event, right? Now let's see what it says. Yeah, the co-captain of a riverboat. Where can you scroll down?
Yeah, so at least 3 people have been charged in connection. Actually, I think it's up to 5 or 6 now. Brawl on the riverfront in Montgomery, Alabama. Fight between men identified as authorities as white and a black co-captain of a riverboat turned a spotlight on the city's racial history. The dudes, the white dudes, were completely in the wrong. I mean, they had their pontoon boat parked where the massive dinner pontoon boat was supposed to park. They're asked to move it. By the harbor master.
Yeah.
Who's the guy up here in the picture getting beat up.
No, wait a minute. So I don't think that's the harbor master. I think that's the captain of the riverboat.
Oh. Well, how was he on shore? Because the riverboat was offshore.
I don't know if it was a crew that
Maybe it was
another captain coming to take over, or but the harbor master is a very specific person. I don't think it was that.
But yeah, it was a lengthy brawl, and became famous for a chair getting smacked upside the head of a guy. The guy who did the chair thing has been arrested. I know that he was arrested yesterday, I believe. So, it was ugly situation, and those white dudes deserve all the shit they're getting. So
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, it was a disaster.
Yeah. Folding chairs are now called cracker riders.
The people who, the guy who dove in from the camera side and swam across the bay to get into the fight.
Yeah, apparently he's somebody set up a GoFundMe for him and has made quite a bit of money for college education. So good stuff. Good. Question number 7. President Joe Biden designated a new national monument this week surrounding which popular tourist destination? Grand Canyon, Niagara Falls, Times Square, or Mount Rushmore? We saw the context clues.
I was going to say, if I hadn't seen the picture, I wouldn't know.
It was controversial because it is cutting off a large deposit of liquid natural gas from being able to be extracted. So it's not Honkyville. Yeah,
Honkyville. Honkyville's where the boat fight happened. It's interesting though. I wonder about whether or not it's really cutting off the natural gas, because the way they drill now, they get in and then they can have these drills.
Yeah, they can do vertical drilling and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think Aaron's got it right.
Aaron's got it right. It is Grand Canyon, based off the context clues earlier today. So, 5th national monument of his presidency. All right, question number 8. Which tech company is moving forward with its plan to delete accounts that have been inactive for at least 2 years? Yahoo, Google, AOL, or Apple?
It's only going to be the company that doesn't worry about having too few users. So that rules out AOL and Yahoo.
Yeah.
So I'll wait to see what the audience says. My guess would be Google, but I don't know if it's Google or Apple. Oh, you know what though? I bet it is Google just because they did that thing with G Suite, where they tried
Ain't
to get
nothing,
rid of all the free accounts.
ain't nothing but a G sweet baby.
Ain't nothing but a G Suite, baby.
All right, we're getting nothing.
All right, let's go with Google. James says Twitter, which isn't an
Google.
option.
Yeah,
All
Google
right.
plans on deleting inactive accounts in December to prevent security risks.
I think we meant to say James Ogle is planning on deleting inactive accounts.
God. I posted something in Fakertarians this week, and I guess it triggered him because no less than like 10 posts afterward, I'm like, what did I do?
Hmm. You woke the bear.
I did. Question number 9. Which of the bright celestial display will be visible in parts of the northern hemisphere this weekend? And it's actually tonight, so after the show, please go out there and check it out because it's always cool to watch it.
Is the Pleiades.
Yes, the meteor shower Pleiades. Or Perseid. No, it's
Perseid.
Perseid.
Damn
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Actually saw some shooting stars earlier this week, so it was
I'm going to go out and take a look in just a sec.
Yeah. All right, question number 10. Lottery ticket sold in which state won Tuesday's $1.58 billion Mega Millions jackpot? California, Washington, Colorado, or Florida?
James has
And
got it.
James got it.
Yeah. All right. 10 for 10.
10 for 10. Perfect week, man.
Yep. You know what? I think it's because AJ isn't here.
Oh, wow.
Sorry,
Threw
AJ.
her under the bus, man.
Yep.
All right. Well, we've hit an hour and a half, man.
Time flew.
Time did fly. So next week we will definitely do Guam. Sorry about
Thanks
not doing
everybody for
Guam.
tuning in. If you
Yeah.
haven't subscribed, those of you on YouTube, please click the like button as well as subscribing on YouTube. And you know what? Share this show up on social media. Let's get some more
Yes.
viewers in here.
AJ's under the weather tonight, so yeah, but AJ is better at guesses than we are.
Hopefully, she'll be back next week.
Yeah, but anyway, thanks for joining us. Again, give us like, share, subscribe on whatever platform you're watching us on. We really appreciate it. It helps boost the reach of the show. And we will talk to all of you next week on the Political Deep Dive.